It is happening. Finally, the Warriors last night, even being shorthanded with your main player and other important key pieces as well, were able to come back from a 20-point deficit. It's amazing. We're seeing good things working. There are still some things we need to improve. We're gonna talk about both things here today. Let's take a look at the game last night, how we did. We're gonna look at the box score, and then we're also gonna cover the game tonight. The Warriors are playing, as you know, a back-to-back game against New Orleans. But we're also going to look at the schedule for November. We are wrapping October games, 5 games that we did in October tonight. We have a chance of going 4-1 record, which is really great right now. But November is going to be a tough, especially the beginning of the month. We're heading to 5 games on the road. It's going to be a tough trip against really strong teams. We're going to look in details on all of that. So let's take a look at the box score for last night. So the Warriors started really bad. When you look at the first half, I was like thinking and having again those feelings of 2023 season where we were digging ourselves in those big roles, being very a good amount of points behind, and we couldn't get out of it. Again, those feelings that when we do some runs, we are getting close, we can tie the game, we're not capable of doing that. I recall last night exactly when we got close 44-46, and then we just couldn't. And then the Pelicans made another run, separated by 8-10 points again. So it was happening all the same. But a few things we could see, and then when we came for the second half, we had a really strong second half. And I think I said here before, the depth of our roster, having more players that are capable of coming to a high level. Sometimes you look at the numbers and you don't realize that, but it's just basically the intensity of the team surpassing the other one and making the team outstand, right? So you look at our second half, reality is that we are a lot more intense. We had a lot of more energy. We are hustling more. We are all the balls deflecting. We're going to talk about this as well. So the Warriors were really outstanding compared to the Pelicans in terms of how hard they could play on that second half mainly, right? So we're really bad on the first half. Still, we could keep the game close, and that's a lot regarding because of our defense system. We're going to talk about this too. And then the second half, we had Buddy Hield that came really strong, finished the game against leading the scoreboard and leading for the Warriors. That's the third out of the 4 games. Buddy Hield actually was the leading in 3 of them. The only one that he was not was the one that we lost for the Clippers. Lean Waters, amazing surprise. I posted on Twitter last night in the halftime that he was actually the good surprise of the halftime before, because you would not expect much from him, right? He's a guy that is not in the rotation, and then he comes. And if you look for his points, what is great, he just didn't score. We know he's a sharpshooter. But he just scored 3 points last night. 9 of his points were from 3 points. The rest was field goal shooting, free throw that he was 100% on that. So he brought a lot of more flavor than you would expect from him. That was good to see. So when you look at the box score, the Warriors are really strong. We forced the New Orleans Pelicans to 23 turnovers. And again, the defense part of the Warriors is really what is going well right now. And so, talking about the defense, have you already thanked this guy, Jerry Stackhouse? He's the main reason, and he was the reason why the Warriors went to bring him on board as an assistant coach. His defensive mindset and knowledge. He was part of a Toronto Raptors team that was really strong in the defense, and he brought this to the Warriors as well. And we are seeing already an immediate impact. Even players that are not that strong in the defense are all over the court. They're deflecting the balls. The Warriors are lead right now in deflections per game and total deflections with over 100. The second position has 75. So last night we forced the Pelicans to 23 turnovers. We had 9 blocks. It's a whole different defensive system when compared to last night. And it actually has saved the Warriors, because when you look, for example, to the Trailblazers game, the opening night, we started really bad as well. And still we could finish the first half very close because our defense was also forcing the other team to play really bad. CJ McCollum, it's a great player. Last night, we hold him to only 5 points. So this guy here has everything to do on how our defense is working. And you see the guys like Brandon Porzingis all over the place, Kevin Looney, Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield is not historically a really good defender, and he was stealing balls last night. So the Warriors brought players on board like Kyle Anderson, keeping Gary Payton, keeping Kevin Looney that are strong defenders, and brought a guy that knows how to play on that, and that's impacting other players as well. So that's the first thing for me that is working really well. We are struggling sometimes in our offense, like last night, the way that we started. We are still shooting under 50% from our field goals, but we are definitely doing something that works, and it's much better than last season in the defensive side. And the other thing that is working really well, again, we saw this, is the depth of our roster. We play against the Pelicans without Stephen Curry, without Andrew Wiggins, and without Deontay Melton, and still we played with 10 guys without counting the guys that played the last 2 minutes. So we brought Lean Waters that wasn't part of the rotation. We gave more minutes to some guys, and that's working. And another thing that is working for me is the fact that Steve Kerr is not attached to any player. He said that those guys will compete for minutes. I said here that before. It's a healthy competition. The players know how to deal with that. So when you look at last night, Kyle Anderson played a little bit more minutes. Gary Payton that has been playing more, play less. So Steve Kerr is really adjusting the team to the needs of each game without having in his mind that he needs to play and give minutes to some specific ones. And that's amazing because you have a balance. You can adjust according to your opponent, and it's working well. We are still, as I said, we put a lot of more energy. We are overcoming our opponents with that large lineup, and the combinations and changing and intensity and being all over the place. So that's really working well for the Warriors right now. What is not working? These two guys that you see the Warriors players, for me, Trayce Jackson and Jonathan Kuminga, it's not that they are terribly playing right now. But when you look to the entire composition of our roster, everyone that is coming from the court, I think those guys are still under what we expect from them. Trayce Jackson got the starting five, and to be fair, last night he had 5 assists, which were very interesting. It shows how he's adjusting to the system and understanding that. But I do expect him to be very, very strong in the defense side as well, grabbing more rebounds. And I think that's one thing that is lacking a lot. When Trayce Jackson's on the floor, we basically not having that amount of rebounds. And I think that's why Steve Kerr has given Looney a lot of more minutes than probably he was expecting to. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point Looney takes that starting position back. Reality is like maybe this is not going to happen because the Warriors have a starting five that with the amount of that each player is playing, it doesn't really matter. You have those guys starting, but everyone is actually playing a lot. When you look at Jonathan Kuminga, for example, last night, he played almost 30 minutes. He played 20 minutes and something. He played a lot by coming from the bench. It was interesting to start because he has been part of the starting five. He got benched, and he gave an interview right before the game saying he wasn't communicated by that. So it shows a little bit of problems around Jonathan Kuminga as well, because we had that misunderstanding between him and Kerr last season. He is right now going to be a free agent next summer. He's fighting for and trying to prove that he's worth a max extension. And you're having all these things around him that are not really connected to how he's playing. Did he play bad last night? No, he didn't. He played fine, scored almost 20 points, but we expect more from him. He was supposed to fight for being that second scorer for the Warriors with Andrew Wiggins. Right now, but you have Buddy Hield that took that position, Moses Moody that took that position, Lean Waters last night that took that position, Brandon Porzingis that was really well last night as well. So we expect Jonathan Kuminga to take, let's call a leadership or a technical lead role in this team where he's going to be there. He's going to call the ball, call game, and be active there on the floor more than he has been. I think his appearance so far, his game so far has been discreet from what we are expecting. Still playing well, but more like a rotational player than one of the stars of the team. So I think those two things needs to get better. And also for Jonathan Kuminga, also apply that he is not one of the great defenders that we have, and that makes a lot of difference. If you compare, and if you're watching a future Warriors game, you can compare two guys, for example. Look how he moved his legs to the side and the lateral move when he's defending someone versus other players such as Moses Moody as well that is good on that. So it's too easy for a lot of the guys to dribble over Jonathan Kuminga. He needs to improve that. And I think that is lacking. And again, he was surprising that was so fast, but it was understandable as well that Steve Kerr is not attached to anyone and he's going to show who deserves is going to play more. Again, he played well from the bench, and maybe that's going to be his role, but that's not definitely not the position and the role for someone that is fighting for a max extension. So those are the things that are not working and the Warriors need to improve right now. They also need to improve the fact that multiple games they are starting disconnected, they're starting distracted with like really poor shooting, and that makes it hard for them to fight back. Almost every single game right now we had to fight back. Against the Clippers, that was the problem. We started the game in the front and we could never get that leader again, the leaderboard again. Yesterday we were 20 points behind. Again, we start with the first basket and then they took the leadership, and then we fought really hard to get back from those 20 points. So we need to get in there already like 100% connected with the mindset in the game. That's not fully working right now. So the Warriors play tonight, second leg of the back-to-back against the New Orleans, still at the Chase Center at 7 p.m. Pacific time. You're going to need NBA League Pass to watch that. We don't know yet if Andrew Wiggins is going to play. Assuming what happened last night, I wouldn't expect him to play. I would expect Steve Kerr to give him more time. But he was questionable yesterday, and Steve Kerr decided to rest him. So there's a chance that we could see a little bit of Wiggins tonight, but I would assume that no, and he would repeat what we did last night. The Warriors need, and Steve Kerr said that in the post-game interview, we need to be more careful. We were able to stop CJ McCollum, but Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson definitely had a game, 30 points each. And the Warriors did a lot of fouls. So we need to get better and more attentive on that, because actually the Pelicans had a poor shooting from the free throw line last night. We can't count that that's going to repeat again. We can't count fully that CJ McCollum is going to have an off game. But we need to repeat also what worked last night, that very intense defensive system, the energy, the rotation, the combinations, all of that worked. Let's look at the schedule. So we are wrapping October with the game tonight. The Warriors can go 4-1, and it's really important that we win this game tonight, because when you look to the beginning of November, we're going to have a tough path. So when you look to the games, we face Houston, it's 2-2 right now, and then the Washington Wizards, that is 1-2, and then you start getting really tough games, right? Boston Celtics, current champions, 4-0 this season. Cleveland Cavaliers, 4-0 this season. OKC leading the West right now. And then you have Dallas Mavericks. That's the game that Klay Thompson is coming back to the Chase Center. Beyond everything, it's a tough game. You have Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic, Klay Thompson, and it's also going to be an emotional game. So it's a lot of things there that makes it difficult. Then we have Memphis. It has Jay Moran back. It's going to be very hard as well. Both of these games, by the way, you are seeing the asterisk there because they are part of the NBA Emirates Cup. So if the Warriors has any aspiration on that, we need to win those games as well. And then we face the Clippers again on the road, the game that we lost at home in our opening home night. And then Atlanta, and then start New Orleans, Pelicans, San Antonio. So the beginning of that leg in November, the road trip, 5 games, plus Dallas, Memphis, Clippers, it's going to be tough. So it's important that the Warriors guarantee those 4 wins last night, because eventually we got to be realistic, right? We're going to lose some of those games. We have been surprising a few teams out there, a few media guys, and even some of us, the fans, but it's expected that we're going to lose some of those games. So it's important tonight, we need to go strong. We need to guarantee that 4-1, and we can do it It's the same team that played last night. They're also going to be tired. Everyone's going to be in the same situation, and the Warriors have a larger roster. The depth of our roster should work well. I want to know your opinion. What do you think of the Warriors so far? What do you think is good? What do you think is bad? What do you think is working? What is not? Do you agree with me or not? Leave in the comments there. Don't forget to subscribe, and I hope you have a great game tonight.